Hi, my name is Gabor, and I'm going to be making a video game using ChatGPT, GPT-4. So, as you can see, I have a cap of 25 messages for every 3 hours. So, I came quite prepared to make sure that we can fit this into 25 interactions. That's all I'm going to have for this particular video. And we're going to be making a Sokoban clone with ChatGPT. GPT. Sokoban is an old puzzle game. ChatGPT actually knows what the game looks like and how it plays like, so we don't need to give it too much context. The only thing I prepped is I have an environment here with an empty HTML file, and I have some assets so that we can use better artwork than what I've done in the past. I found these online. They're free assets to use for any sort of commercial or non-commercial purposes. So I'll just show you guys the different assets. We have a crate. This is a green crate, which is going to be displayed when the user pushes the box onto the destination square. When the crates are not pushed on the destination square, they'll look like this. This is our destination goal square, which looks slightly different than the ground. We'll have a wall texture and a player. And so that's all I'm gonna start with, and that's all I'm gonna give to ChatGPT. And hopefully 100% of the code is gonna be written by ChatGPT, and we just have to copy and paste. We'll see. So this is the prompt I came up with. Sokoban is an old video game where a factory worker has to push boxes around. I'm sure you know more about it than I do, so I won't go into more details. Obviously, he's free to ask me questions. Let's actually tell him that you are free to ask questions if something isn't clear. Today we are going to implement a Sokoban game using HTML and JavaScript. We'll just have a single level that looks like the following. This is actually something that ChatGPT came up with earlier. I'm just going to stick to the same level. The reason I'm sticking to this, it's actually not very good at level design, and it usually makes it too easy or too hard or impossible. And so I slightly had to tweak the level to make sure that it's solvable and also challenging. So in this today, I'm just going to give him the actual data structure for this level. And then I'm explaining that we have a few tile assets and what the tile assets should be used for. And I'm also telling ChatGPT to separate the HTML and the JavaScript code into two separate files and to just give me the HTML code first. The reason I'm doing it this way is if ChatGPT has to type too much, then it sort of stops typing. And so I'm hoping if I ask for the HTML file first, it's going to be able to give me 100% of the code. And then we'll see if it can give me 100% of the JavaScript. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it into GPT-4. And let's see what it gives us. Sure, let's start with creating the HTML file. We'll call it index.html. And luckily, that's what I called it too. Okay. It's creating a style, creating a game canvas with 320 by 320 size. That sounds good. Okay, I'm going to copy the code, paste it in here. And of course, if we try and run this, we just see an empty square because the JavaScript file is not visible. Or, I mean, we don't have a JavaScript file yet. All right. Perfect. Can you give me the JavaScript code now? Make sure you have the image assets. Yep, we have the assets. Images array, it's loading the images. I mean, I don't really need to understand what the code does actually, because we're just gonna paste it in there and run it. And if it doesn't work, I plan to, file a bug report. I'm not gonna try and fix this. That's not my code. Um, yeah, it's doing good. And as you can tell, it's giving me quite a bit of code right now because and that's what I was talking about. It reaches a point where it stops coding. And unfortunately, this way I waste a message. So I have 25 messages, and I have to tell it to please continue. And this counts as an extra message. So another funny thing is I don't know enough HTML and JavaScript to actually know that this code will work for arrow keys. I mean, it looks legit, but who knows? Um, Copy the code, and it wants us to call it sokoban.js. So new file, sokoban.js. And then we have to copy the second attempt, I mean the continuation. And created us 147 lines of code. Let's see what that looks like when we run it. Okay, so it draws the level. We are able to move the character. It's not able to go across the walls. Good. We are able to push boxes. When the box gets pushed onto the destination, it turns green. Great. And of course, to solve this, it's a little tricky. We have to go all the way around, push this down. And now we should be able to push the other boxes up. What happens when we solve? Okay, so we finished the game and nothing happened. I can keep playing. And of course, we don't want that. So that's going to be our first bug report for ChatGPT, is that we need to recognize when the game ends and do something. So I'm actually going to tell it multiple things. I would like to keep track of the number of steps the player takes in order to solve the puzzle. The number of steps should be displayed above, should be displayed somewhere on the screen. Make it look good. Let's also display a title that says GPT's Sokoban. And lastly, we need to recognize when the game ends and tell the player that they won the game. And I'm not going to give too much details on how to do this. I'll let it make some decisions. I think it gave me the full HTML file. We can copy the HTML code and just replace the entire file here. Let's see what that looks like when I run it. Okay, that looks good. Obviously, the step counter isn't going to work because we need to update the JavaScript file. So, previous code, steps equals 0. So, where do we actually have to insert this? See, now it requires that I know a little bit about coding because there's an update steps method, check when. You know, these are new methods, aren't they? Except move player. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste it above move player. And just to keep things clean, Let's move the variables up here with the rest. Space it like they did before. Then it gave me a move player method, and override the move player method. And then load images. What changed on that one? I think that's identical. Okay, that didn't change. Okay, so let's run this. And now we are counting the steps. There's actually a way to solve this in 70 steps, but I always tend to do 72. I'm not gonna try and figure out the most optimal. Oh, this is actually the most optimal solution, 70 steps. Congratulations, you won the game. That looks pretty cool. So another thing that would be cool, or kind of necessary, is, if somebody doesn't know how to play the game, we would like to tell them, give them instructions on how to play this game. So let's add a link to a help page. You can refer to me as Gabor Nagy, and you can include my email address in case people have questions. All right, so it's creating the help.html. So we know that we're going to have a new file called help.html. All right, I'm going to copy that code, paste it in here. And looks like it's giving me the entire HTML file again. And it looks like I'll be able to have a working game without hitting the limits for the 25 messages. Need help? Click here for instructions. GPT Sokoban help instructions. In GPT Sokoban, the objective is to push all boxes onto the goal squares. The player can only push one box at a time and cannot pull boxes. Complete the level by placing all boxes onto the goal squares. Controls about the game. This is perfect. The game still works. Cool. So what would be really cool next is when the player pushes the box in a corner, we're kind of stuck because you cannot ever get that box out of there. So we need a way to reset. In this game, let's reset the game when the player presses the R key, and make sure to update the docs as well. Let's paste this in. Images, initial player. I guess we'll just paste it here for now. It's kind of silly. I want the reset game method down where the methods are. Sure. Let's replace that entire method. And it's telling us to update the help. All right, run. So now if I make a mistake, I can push R and reset the game. And our help should have that included. Of course, the next problem is this would be great on an iPhone, but right now we don't have touch support. So that's another thing I'm going to ask GPT to implement for us. And then I'll be able to run this on the iPhone. Right now, if I load it up, we should get fairly stuck. Let's see, what is the easiest way to get this URL to my phone? Maybe maybe I'll type it in while GPT is generating the solution. I would like this game to work on an iPhone using swipe gestures. So while it's doing this, I'm going to load up this URL. So I have the game loaded on my phone, and of course there's no way to control the player. And I also don't like that when I swipe, the whole thing scrolls around. So I'm going to have that fixed as well. Looks like it's done with the changes. We only need to update the JavaScript file. Okay. Run. Actually, we're going to refresh the one on my phone. And now I'm able to move the character with touch. But it has that annoying situation is that the page scrolls around when I touch. So let's see if it's able to fix that for us. Thanks. This works great on my iPhone. One thing I dislike is that the page scrolls around when I move the player. Can we fix the website so it's not scrollable on an iPhone? To prevent the page from scrolling on mobile devices, we can update the index.html file. Okay. I have no idea how easy or hard that is because I'm not a web developer. So this is why it's useful. So I'm a software engineer by profession, and I write mobile apps. And I don't know how to do HTML and JavaScript games. Yet I'm able to create this in very little time. Prevent scrolling on devices. It wants me to add this into the style section. So we just need to add to that, I think. I have no idea if this will work. Then it wants me to add a script above the Sokoban. Script include. Okay. So right here. And let's refresh the game. And that fixed it. Wow. Now when I move the character, I don't know if my camera can focus on this, the website doesn't scroll around. That's really cool. And this still, well, let's run it. This should still work. And of course, we need to update the instructions. Copy this. see. Yeah, that's cool. Touch devices, swipe in the direction you want the player to move, reset the game. You can refresh the page. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can refresh the page. So it's really cool that it included instructions on how to reset the game on touch devices where you can't push the R key. Um, I forgot about that actually, and it remembered. That's pretty cool. So I think we have the code back to normal. I'm gonna solve the game real quick. $74 moves this time. Cool. Um, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed this process. I'm definitely gonna play some more with this, and I'm gonna create some more complicated projects and games. Yeah, that's it. I'm not a big YouTuber, so I actually don't need you to subscribe or any of that crap. Uh, I am just sharing this because I'm blown away by the fact that I can create a video game of this quality with this amount of effort. It's nuts. Using a programming language that I'm actually not familiar with. Um, yeah, it's crazy times. Uh, yeah, with that, I'll end this video, and I might actually make future videos with similar content because it's this is just super fun for me to play with.